Hey guys, it's Luke Sample with the second post in the demographic targeting series. I wanted to do a video because of the nature of the questions I got on the first post that we did, which were people asked a lot about exactly what information to collect and exactly how to do it. So I thought the best way to handle this would be to do two things. One, take a step back and give you a broad overview, a general direction that you need to be headed in when you're gathering this information. The reason being, the direction really is more important. As long as you're pointed the right way and you know why you're going that direction, you'll probably develop your own system for pulling out the specific information. But then two, I wanted to also give you a specific example where you could follow me on how I pull the demographic information out. And this is how we trained our guys to do it too in-house. So basically, it's really important to understand demographic targeting for one simple reason. You're going to make a lot more money when you learn how to demographically target. And the reason I say that is really simple. You have two ways to really scale huge. Obviously, one way, once you find a winning campaign, is to scale into multiple traffic sources. So you go from, maybe you started out with Google AdWords, then you expand all the other PPC networks, then you start to do media buys, etc. Right? Well, the important thing there is you're typically going to start out with a very concentrated form of advertising, meaning you're going to go specifically for people looking for the exact type of a product that you've got. Maybe if it's if it's PPC, and to take the example that we're going to use later, and it's a makeup product, MAC Cosmetics or whatever, you're going to focus on people searching for MAC Cosmetics, right? Well, that's fine, and you can scale that to multiple sources, and you really start to scale. However, you're missing out on the majority of your audience because the person interested in MAC Cosmetics is probably interested in other types of cosmetics and health and beauty and similar offers. You can take that even further and start to get into the general age and gender and that type of thing. So you can really get into a huge audience. So if you think about it, let's say you're getting ready to scale. What you really should be looking at doing is scaling demographically first, and then taking what works there and then scaling that into multiple sources. So let's say you start with PPC. You find out that the different MAC Cosmetics terms are converting well. Then you expand into other different types of cosmetic company terms and URLs. You find that works, and then you expand further into a certain maybe age, demographic, whatever. And then once you figure out where your boundary is there for getting profits, then you start to take that winning ad and you start to apply that across the board into all of those markets where your target demographic might reside. That's where you're going to get huge amounts of traffic and volume. It really makes the difference between $1,000 days and $50,000 days, literally. I've seen it happen. So demographic targeting, really important. So I wanted to kind of take a step back from the previous post that I did on kind of the specific research tools and things to talk to you about why we're doing this in the first place, which of course is because we want to scale massively. Scale, of course, equals more profits, as I just said. So you want to tap into the entire potential customers or leads that you can tap into, instead of missing out on that majority just by focusing on one specific thing. Right. So the other cool thing about this is when you're focusing, let's say you have one really popular offer. Let's say it's the MAC Cosmetics gift card offer. Of course, you're going to have a lot of competition, guys, trying to promote that exact same thing with very MAC specific things. Once you start to expand laterally, though, and you start to get into, let's say it's terms about, I don't know, you start to bid on terms for companies that do other types of cosmetics or lotions or eyelash lengtheners or shoes even, right? It doesn't matter. Once you start to really scale out that way, you're going to start to find a lot of the competition promoting your specific thing is going to be less, obviously. Okay, so that's another good point and reason to expand laterally. So we obviously want the largest relevant audience to see our ad, and that's the whole point with the demographic targeting. So I think I got my point across there. That's why we're doing it. That's the direction we're going. We're trying to get our ad, our working ad, profitable ad, in front of as many people that might find that relevant as possible. So the way to do that is with demographics. So as long as you understand why we're doing this now, and the benefit, you might start to have your own system for gathering the information. But let's go ahead and take a look at a specific example that I might choose, and I'll show you how to do it. And it's kind of a feel thing. You'll start to get better at it as you practice. There's not one way to do this. There's tons of different ways and different styles. But let me show you how I would go about handling one particular offer, and that might get you off on the right foot. So let's move over and do that. Okay, so the first step here in the example is I want to choose an offer. So let's go with I'm going to choose the MAC Cosmetics offer. So let's go ahead and do that. And I picked MAC Cosmetics for the specific reason that obviously the demographic is an easy to pick out demographic. I mean, this is going to be a specific gender and kind of a specific age range and with a specific set of interests. So it's sort of an extreme example of demographics. Sometimes it's not going to be this easy to pick out the demographics for the offer. It takes a little more research, creativity here, but this one will be easy, good for the example. So let's just grab the first one here. MAC Cosmetics gift card offer. You can see it's $1.80 zip submit. Cool. So let's start there and let's pull this offer and see what we can do. So let's look at the landing page first. All right, so straight up MAC Cosmetics gift card. You can kind of try to get some other information or hints from to start your demographic research based on what the landing page says. This particular case, it's not really that helpful. I mean, it's MAC Cosmetics, simple as that. So the next thing we want to do once we have the offer selected is to move over and start to actually do some research. And the goal of the research is going to be to gather a few basic categories of information. And I like to start out with, I usually use QuantCast Alexa Ad Planner for the most part. We also use Compete, but that's going to be a paid for service. So I want to give you guys the free services that we use. So anyway, let's move over to actually doing some specific research, and I'll show you how I'm going to pull the categories of information on each of those different tools. All right, here we are. Now it's time to begin the specific research on this particular offer and where we would start. We obviously want to start very relevant and then expand from there, expand our demographic range from there. So the first thing is we obviously visited the landing page. We kind of have an idea. We know this is MAC Cosmetics. It's obviously a pretty large brand. I'm not really that much of a makeup guy, but I do know that it's obviously makeup, right? So let's just type in MAC Cosmetics here in Google. Let's see what the main site is, and then we'll go pull demographic information based off of the main website. I think it's just maccosmetics.com, but if we just do MAC Cosmetics, and there maccosmetics.com, and this will give you an idea of the URL to actually use when we go start to do some research. So we obviously want to know who are these people that are visiting maccosmetics.com and shopping. I mean, obviously that's going to be exactly targeted for what we're trying to do here with a MAC Cosmetics gift card, right? Now, one of the things you can do sometimes in Google, which I noticed this has, sometimes you can pull demographic information straight from the Google search if it's one of the authority sites and they have the different categories marked out. So you can see here lipstick, eyeshadow, Mac Pro. That might be something to look at. Face and body foundation, right? All of these different things could be potentially keywords or categories within MAC Cosmetics where we could do more advertising, still targeted though to the right demographic. So I would probably pull out lipstick, eyeshadow, and I'd probably make a list here if I was going to really do this in detail. And sometimes this takes a while, guys. This research takes some time. It's not going to be something you're going to just crank out in a few minutes. So take your time with this. Like I said, it's well worth it when you scale properly. So anyway, I would probably start to make a list of keywords. Obviously, I'd do lipstick, eyeshadow, and then face and body foundation. I'd probably throw Mac Pro in there. I'm not sure what Seen and Spotted is. I don't know if that's I don't know what that is, but I would do a little research there, and then I would probably do something like types of makeup or makeup 101 or something, since I'm not really that big of a makeup guy. So I would try to get a list of other things, like you have your eyeshadow and your foundation and your never thought I'd really be talking about this on a marketing video, but and then like your eyeliner or whatever. So you have all these different types of makeup. So I would probably make a list of those as well. And then what I would start to do is I would then go back and try to find through my tools that we're going to come to here in Google. I would start to search for specific things, like for example, let's say eyeshadow was a big one, right? So I would type in eyeshadow and start to pull. There you go, MAC Cosmetics being number one there. Looks like you could do Revlon though, Maybelline, CoverGirl, etc., etc. Yeah, I'm really starting to hate my example choice. Anyway, so you this is kind of how you start. You just start to dig and you start to pull keywords in, and then you figure out more about that specific keyword, and it's just sort of this ever-growing list of categories and keywords and things like that. So maybe this is a good time to talk about the specific types of information we want to gather. Okay, I always like to gather, of course, the basic demographics on the people that are, your target market, which we're going to do in just a sec. Related categories of interest, and you can get that from things like I just talked about. Obviously, related category of interest would be eyeshadow or any type of makeup, that type of thing. So you can start to get categories there, but also the tools will give you categories, and we'll see that. Related sites, what other sites do people that visit MacCosmetics.com, what other sites do they go to? You'll see that. And then, of course, related keywords, and we've already started to build a list there. So so that's kind of how you start to use Google and you start to pull things out. So I would start to make a list of other companies or URLs. Related sites would be for our list. So I start to make a spreadsheet, and related sites would be Revlon, Maybelline, CoverGirl, right? So we know we're going to look at those too. So let's start with MAC Cosmetics and go through the specific tools. And I kind of work sort of in an ADD way or a spastic sort of way. I like to type in my URL that I'm interested in, and all three of the tools I like to bounce back and forth between all three of them. So so let's just do MacCosmetics.com here, and let me go ahead and get that rolling. Let's do Quantcast, Cosmetics.com, and we'll do it on Alexa too. Okay. Oops. Really didn't want to do the AU thing. I don't know why we're in Australia, but let me make sure that this is right. Yeah, MacCosmetics.com, MacCosmetics.com. Okay, so let's start to pull the information out, and this is the way I would do it. So we obviously know, again, we're going for the basic demographics. So let's get that information first. So we're looking at age and gender, household income, education, that type of stuff. So we can see here that MacCosmetics.com, obviously a higher leaning toward the females there significantly. Household income, I mean, that's not completely telling. A lot of times it depends on the particular, you'll notice here the affinity is kind of what you want to look at, because there's a basic distribution of income that you would expect anyway. And, it pretty well follows that anyway. So the affinity is kind of the important thing to look at here. Once you start getting up to, 1.8, that's highly, that's going to be a real accurate gauge of how important that specific metric is, based on what you would expect the average distribution to be for any just completely generic website or internet traffic versus this one. So that's kind of the key there. A lot of people forget about that. Like, you'll notice here, 50 to 75, it's 34%. You'll think, oh man, it's all 50 to 75. Well, the affinity is 1, basically what you would expect, according to, average distribution online. But anyway, just kind of keep that in mind. So you can see here, really high affinity on the 25 to 34 market, which is interesting. So we kind of know the age that we're looking at here. We're looking at, you can get down 18 to 24. I would say it's probably going to be, 20 plus. So that we're focusing on here, especially for our conversions. But so you could go from 18 to really up to 45 to 54, but you see here the affinity is only 0.8. So really your sweet spot is here in this 25 to 34 range, probably the 30-year-old age range. So if you're trying to make sort of a profile, you probably pull out a 40-year-old female at this point, standard average income, whatever. I'm not really sure what the average U.S. income is, but okay, so that's the basics there. So we know we're looking for a female, anywhere between really 18 to 50, but sweet spot is around 30, and standard income, a nearly standard education levels, maybe slightly higher than average, and so that's all fine. So now we have a basic demographic profile. We know the basic information. Now let's look at the other places and see what their basic demographic information says. So let's go to QuantCast here. Basic demographics here. You can see the again, the internet average is sort of your line here, but so obviously female heavy, 18 to 24 all the way up to 44. You can see it really starts to drop off here. So they're having, so 44 is sort of the cap, and 18 to 24 is a pretty high. So 25 to 30 range. This can be telling too, the different racial information, but that's a little more difficult sometimes to pull out specifics for. Pretty much matches, obviously, the basics of Ad Planner. So let's look at, we can just get the details here on Alexa. And Alexa I use for a couple of specific things, which we can talk about. But so you can see some basics here, real basics on the traffic. They don't break it down quite as much on the demographic side of things, but you can do audience, and this gives you an idea of kind of what we're looking for. So you can see here they cut it off that 34 mark, so leaning closer to that 28 to 30 range, even after kind of looking at these different, all three of them. So anyway, that's the basic demographics. So I would mark that. Usually do like a little spreadsheet or multiple notepad files and say, okay, what are the basic demographics of these people? Now let's look at the next category, which is categories of interest. Categories of interest is really cool because you can start to really, really dig down into detail. So Ad Planner here shows us categories of interest. Look at the affinities here for these different categories for someone who's visiting mattcosmetics.com. Obviously makeup and cosmetics, skin and nail care, right? So now you're starting to get into other different companies, different product names, different URLs we can find and bid on. Face and body care, same thing. Cosmetology and beauty professionals. Perfumes and fragrances. Think about all of those companies and products and URLs that we could bid on in perfumes and fragrances that would have a high affinity to maybe liking our ad. Beauty and fitness, hair care. I mean, just thousands and thousands of product names, companies, URLs that would be relevant for hair care. Fashion designers, luxury goods, handbags and purses. So you can see this is hugely powerful information. This is where once you start to scale into different categories and your ad is good enough to pull conversions and be profitable, that's where you jump your income, massively, exponentially. So I would pull out these categories as well and make those different columns or tabs in the spreadsheet even. And I would start to then break out the products that I find on Google that are the top and high ranking ones, and the URLs and the company names, all of those things, even magazines in those specific categories. I would start to pull that information as well. So you can really start to do some damage here. Like I said, this is sort of a never-ending rabbit hole here. It's you keep getting deeper and deeper, and you turn one rock over and there are 4 other potential paths, and et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. So take your time here. This isn't, like I said, an overnight thing, but can be well worth it. So I pull those out as different categories. Let's go back to QuantCast here in terms of categories. Let's see if we have these give. Let's see here. Let's do this. So this will give you the different categories in QuantCast. So you can see fragrances and cosmetics, pharmacy, healthcare, commerce and movies. So you really see a high for fragrances and cosmetics. Again, matches pretty much with Ad Planner gave you. Ad Planner gave us some better detail there, though, in terms of the different categories. So I would obviously pull that information out, put it in the spreadsheet. And there's different, let's see here. Search analytics, I think, is what gives us, yes and no here. The search analytics for Alexa will give you um, basically relevant search terms, and you can obviously pull out categories and information here. So same thing here: brush cleaner, lipstick. I don't know what that is. Eyeshadow, makeup in general. So you can start to eyeshadow again. You can start to see different key terms. Bronzer. Right, so you can get an idea. Of course, all the Mac terms are obviously relevant, but just trying to show you how to pull out other ones. So that's that on Alexa. Let's go back to Ad Planner. The other cool thing I like to get, as I told you, I like to get categories, and that's how we get the categories. Next is the related sites. What other sites or URLs can we bid on? Okay, so what I would do is I would start pulling out information. Look at this affinity. I mean, 372. 230, 191. This is fantastic. So these are really relevant URLs. So what are the other sites that these people visit? And I would start pulling these URLs. The cool thing about that is you could do the same type of information research, demographic research on these URLs as we did for mattcosmetics.com. For example, let's just pull this one out and we'll do another search. You'll see what I mean, right? Boom. We get another, oh wow, look at that, 100% female. That's interesting. You don't see a whole lot of 100%, so you see 2 in this one. Again, you start to get more URLs. So this is how you start to build the URL list. You start to, just like keywords, you find one relevant keyword and you start to really expand on that. And then you find another one and you pull that out and do a separate column for it. Same thing with this, right? So same thing with the URLs, and that's kind of what we're doing here. But you get the point. So I'm going to start to pull out other relevant URLs or sites that we visit. Now, the cool thing about the URLs, you can use that in a number of places. For example, you obviously for Ad Planner, you can pull out the URLs where you can actually advertise specifically on. You could buy advertising directly. The other way you can do that is you can use the URLs as PPC search terms. You can actually bid on the URL, which is always a killer way to do it and to get some cheap clicks. The other thing you can do, obviously, if you're doing CPV, those are that's your URL list. That's perfectly targeted. So you can use your URLs just like you do keywords in terms of the different bidding platforms. You can also obviously use the URLs to buy media on that specific URL. So really powerful. So don't forget to build your list of URLs, not just your list of keywords. A lot of guys come in, they pull keywords and move on. Keywords are great, but they can't allow you to bid on specific ads on that exact website. The probably clicks are going to be typically a little bit more expensive, and on top of all that, obviously those URLs are useful in CPV. Really useful. So anyway, just a quick tip there. Don't forget to pull out your URLs and your relevant sites. So they obviously give us some relevant sites here on Ad Planner. Quantcast also gives us some more of that information, so we can see here. Let me go back. Oh, that is what they give us. Okay, so anyway, you get an idea here. Ulta.com, Sephora, Lancome. Again, these are companies and keywords. You would start to pull out more URLs here, and again, you can start to, do the same stuff for these websites. And now we're getting more and more. Now we can pull out these Nordstrom, Saks, etc., etc. Apparel affinity, right? You start to pull these out. So you can see how you can start to really build a large list of keywords, categories, and URLs. Matt Cosmetics, same thing. Related links, and you can see here's some Sephora, Clinique, Gloss, Vector, NARS, etc., etc. You can really, really start to build out a massive list. So that's how you do it. Let's see if there's anything else special. I mean, obviously, keywords here, they give you all the keyword information. So at this point, you should have a pretty awesome spreadsheet of information on the basic demographics. You know who you're basically going after. The related categories, you should have a lot of related categories there. The sites that the people visit, you should be able to pull out a lot of sites, and you keep going down that rabbit hole. One rock turns over the other. Same exact thing with keywords. So we've got demographics, categories, sites, and keywords. We've got all that information that we can utilize to start to buy media and put our ad in front of people. Ad Planner has some obviously cool things when you can do audience planning or search for specific placements. Ad Planner allows you to select a couple different things here. You can do a search for any domain, whether it's on the Google Display Network or not, whether it's on the Content Network or not, or you can do only placements where you can buy an ad. And the cool thing is you can literally do all your research and upload your campaigns right within the planner. It's a really cool thing. If you haven't used Ad Planner before, it's highly recommended if you're going to use Google at all. So like if you start a search here, I'll give you an idea of how to start to pull things out. The basic demographics are always good to start with first, and this will start to give you a way to do that. So geography, we obviously know we want, let's just say United States, although you saw that there were other countries that we could target, but let's just do United States at this point. Okay. And language, we obviously want English. The landing page is in English. You start to see this is going to start to narrow things down. Demographics, we want to focus on female for the most part. Let's focus in these two age ranges, and that's good for now. Now we really start to get some different placements. And let's see, online activity. This is where we can start to put in the other URLs that they visit and keywords. I won't mess with that now. You get the point. And then, of course, interests. You can get back into, here's an example, beauty and fitness, face and body care, hair care, right? Remember all those different categories? Here's where you can start to select those things. So if you want to, boom, boom, this is just an example. I don't know about body art. I'd have to do a little more research into that. Anyway, let's just do that. Let's do hair care. And let's just say okay. So we should come up with some pretty relevant placements at this point. Remember, Tim Talia, actually remember seeing that on one of the, I think it was Quantcast, one of the recommended sites that people also visit. So anyway, this gives you an idea. You can see a lot of these are hair sites and makeup sites and that type of thing. There's a cooking site, Become Gorgeous, the hairstyler, etc. It's kind of a fashion thing. 17 magazine, etc. So you can see it's pretty accurate here. Now, these are people that you wouldn't have probably reached out to initially. I mean, 17 magazine isn't necessarily anything specifically to do with MAC Cosmetics, right? I mean, obviously it's a relevant demographic. And so, again, back to our point, that's what we're trying to do. So it looks like it's working pretty well for us. So there you go. We can buy placements. It tells you ad specs and all the different, the impressions and everything. Really, really cool. Ad Planner rocks if you're going to use Google for anything. It rocks in general just to do research. So that's basically the process for pulling out your initial information, your demographics, your categories, your sites, and your keywords. After that, I like to start to build my campaigns based off of the spy tools. And I kind of do a combination of what I found in the spy tools and what I found in my research. So let's move over to the spy tools and do a little bit of research there. And I'll show you some things that you can utilize to build your campaigns. Once your campaigns are built, you're ready to rock, right? You're good. All right, the next step I like to take here, as I said, is to run over to some of the spy tools I like to use. Now that we've got the demographics and the categories, the sites and the keywords we know we want to use, I like to start to build the campaigns based off of the spy tools because I like to build off of campaigns that we know are already working, right? That's a no-brainer. So I came over here and typed in, this is SpyFu. I like SpyFu, Keyword Spy. Like I said, we use some other tools. Cool for different types of placements, what runs where. AdBeat's a good one. There are quite a few different spy tools. Like I said, those are kind of four of the main ones we like to use. SpyFu, Keyword Spy, what runs where, and AdBeat. And we like to pull information from those. But regardless of if you do or do not have memberships to those, most of those offer a little bit of free information that you can get started with. So anyway, if you can afford them, definitely snag them because they're very useful. So I typed in Mac Cosmetics here. The cool thing is we can get all the specific keywords that Mac's bidding on. Obviously, if Mac's bidding on them, it's going to be relevant to us. The other cool thing I like to use is the top ad competitors here. So MedUSA's Makeup.com looks like a good one. So I would pull their keywords as well. So pull all of Mac's, pull all of theirs. There's some overlap in these other places. Mac Shadow Combos is probably a really good one. Anyway, that's how you start to pull all of your different keywords and build upon the keywords that you already established were relevant from your research. So these are keywords that have produced profit or very likely have produced profit for the company's bidding. So again, I did it here on Keyword Spy. Lots and lots of keywords you can see here found by Keyword Spy. Competitors, and again, this is another really cool thing. You can see there's Macy's, Nordstrom, Sephora, Apple Store. That's interesting. Of course, they just bid on so many things. But so the point being, you can get all of the information you need to get here to start building your campaigns, right? So once we go combine the information we pulled from the initial research, then I can start to use that information and pump it into the spy tools. And I just keep building a bigger and bigger and bigger campaign. And then, of course, you organize that. And depending on the service you use or the system you use for your media buys and your PPC and CPV and all that, you will build out your campaigns, relevant to each of those different platforms. So that's how we get into the whole spy tool game. So again, let's just kind of quickly recap. You know why we're doing the demographic research. Now you have a direction to go. You understand what we need to get. And then you saw the system we use to snag an offer and start from a particular offer to find out about the basic demographics, to pull out the categories, the sites, and the keywords on all of your general information. And we like to utilize Quantcast, Alexa, and Ad Planner for those. Then we take that information, we come over to the spy tools to help us start to build our campaigns and to validate that information and expand on the information we found initially. Once we have the campaigns built, it's upload time and it's time to start bidding and testing. It's really as simple as that. And now we've got a massive campaign, and instead of just making a few $100s a day, we can scale up to thousands, tens of thousands, even I've seen hundreds of thousands. We had we had access to a campaign recently that was doing well over 6 figures daily, and it's crazy. A lot of really big campaigns like that you'll see are also seasonal. But anyway, that's how you get up to those giant numbers. It's not by focusing on one tiny little specific keyword and niche. It's finding an ad that works for a large demographic audience and then getting that ad in front of them. It's really as simple as that. The more relevant eyeballs that see your ad, the more money that you have the potential to make. So hopefully that helps you guys that had really specific questions on why we were doing it, how it works, and how the benefit really played out. And that's it for this particular post. We'll see you guys again next time.